Hey guys, so now we are going to play Shards of Alchemy again. This time we are going to play the second mode, the Novice mode. So previously we played the Initiate mode. It's the very simple introductory game. You can play it with kids, adults, people that don't game regularly. It's a great introduction to the game. This one, it steps it up a little bit. We're going to use all the same rules. There is one addition in here. It's a big addition. The rule is simple, but we're going to use the inside face of the cards. But to get there, we've got to do upgrades. When we get there, I will explain what that is when it shows up. So to start with, it's going to look like basically the same game for a while. So at the beginning, once again, we each get 4 cards. It's a 2-player game, double the number of players again. So we both got a set of 4 cards. We both got a gold and some other cards. Gold is worth 3. The others are worth 1 unless they're gray. We're not seeing any gray here. So we both have a 3-point card and 3 1-point cards. So the simple solution here is clearly just separate the gold out, and then you have 3 points in other cards. And we've got a lot of different colors on comparing the two sides, but it's basically the same value. So I will see who the first player is again. I'll just start, draw the top card here. It's a 1-point card. You can see right there that little black dot. He draws the next one. Gray is usually a 0-point card, but there's a couple that have a really high value inside face. And this one is the highest value gray. It's worth 5 points, so he's definitely going to start. And we're just going to fill out the rest of these positions. There's some quite a variety of values here. You don't see a lot of high value cards like this normally. So this is unusual. A lot of them are 1-point cards. So we're seeing a lot of 4s, a 2-point, these are rare. And gold is worth 3, and this 5-point card here. So it's a really interesting start. Every game is different, and this is part of the reason why every game is different. He's the first player, so he chose the 3 1-point cards, left me the gold. I'm going to pick from his side. I think I like that too. So we're just kind of switching the non-gold contents. It was just kind of a swap there, and that happens. Okay, so then we take those cards, put them out on the table. The game is going to the end result of the game is you get the most points on cards, and so if you've got them face down, the value again is 3 for a gold, 0 if you have a gray on the back side. If you have 2 grays, it's worth 1. Everything else, the other 5 colors, are worth 1 point apiece. You also get another 2 points for having the most of a color. And we are going to be using the inside face, so it's going to get interesting. He drew a red that on the inside face is a black and green. Okay. The next one's going to fall. So he can look at it and he can decide, do I want a white blue or a black green? And he's letting the white blue fall, so that accelerates the clock by 4, just like in the Initiate game. When a card falls, its value accelerates the clock by that amount. So there we go, it went by 4. He's playing a gray, so the next card's going to drop. He's going to look at it, decide if he wants to switch. It's a 2-point card. He lets it drop. 1, 2, so we're already up to 6. Okay, so it's my turn. Let's see. Blue and white. Interesting. So I can look around here. I think I kind of like this one. So if you're concerned about the clock going too fast, you might not want to pull these kind of high value cards, but at the same time in this game we're going for these upgrades. So ultimately I might want this in play. So I'll draw it. I draw it as a white, but I know that when I get to the upgrades, it's going to be different. Okay, and then a blue is going to drop. I let it. I'm the second player, the last player, so the clock goes up by 1 for the last player. Okay, So now I get a play as well. Okay, and so plays are interesting. You can do plays like we did in the previous game where you just put a card out. So I could just put this out as a white right here. You can also do upgrades either with cards that are already out in play or that are on your mat. I'm going to do an upgrade from my mat so we can explain that right now. So this white, when I look at the inside, it's a 4-point card that's black and white. Okay, so it goes from a white to a black and white. Alright, this one's unusual. It's the only card in the deck that shares one of the outside color with one of its inside colors. Okay, so I am going to put a card back. I think I'll put a black back because I'm still going to keep black this way. Doesn't matter too much. I'm going to upgrade to this. And so the reason, let me explain what's happening here. So when you go from a 1-point card to a 4-point card, you get the first 2 higher point value free. So up to 3, going from 1 to 3, I could just flip it over. But there is no such thing as going from a 1 to a 3. You'll go from a 1 to a 4, maybe a 1 to a 6. So in this case, I'm going from 1 to a 4. I have to put the difference in value, in this case 1 point, back into my mat. And then I put that card out. So I just upgraded this card. I put the difference back in my mat. I still own it, but it's not worth anything while it's in my mat. And I just put a 4-point card out. So now, instead of having 3, 4, 5, 6 points, I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. Okay? And I have a black and a white out here. So I also effectively added a white. So that's useful. The other thing about an upgrade is that it sets the clock back by 1. So every time you do an upgrade, you're not going to be able to do them every turn, but every time you do one, you move the clock back. So you're kind of pulling the reins in on the speed of the game slightly, which is good because clearly as we're drawing these high value cards, that's also potentially going to accelerate the game too. So the game speed will probably be similar, maybe a little slower because you got a lot more going on with these upgrades. Okay, so there's an example of an upgrade. We'll move on with the game. That's as complicated as it gets, but that is a lot to understand. So just, go back and look at that portion of the video again if you need to understand the upgrade activity. And we did the upgrade as a play. So draw is still the same. The upgrade is a alternate way of doing a play instead of just putting a card out. Okay, so I will go up by 1 for the end of the turn. Then my opponent goes. He's drawing a green. He looks at the next one. It's a gray. He lets it drop. So gray is worth 0. It doesn't accelerate the clock at all. And then he's going to play a gray again. So he's got a nice gray advantage going. He looks at the next card to drop. He hasn't done his switch yet, so he could, if he wanted this one, he could switch for one of the ones that he already has. So I think he's switching for another 4-point card. Yeah, so he's putting that one back. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're up to 12 on the clock here. He's already did his play with the gray, because as you know, gray, you can play it for the play portion of the draw play on your turn. You can play a gray from discard into the field. So gray has a unique power. It's low value, but it's very versatile, and it's very useful because it lets you keep things in your mat when you do that. So I think it's probably the most useful card in this game. Okay, so his turn is done. We're at 12. I go to me for my turn to finish the round. Let's see. You know what? I'll go ahead and take that gray-black myself. See what's coming. Yeah, so some of the lower value cards are starting to show up. We had a really heavy cards at the beginning. I think that's really interesting when that kind of thing happens. You can see a very different game happening depending on what you start with. Okay, so that one value blue dropped. I set the clock forward by 1 to match that. I am going to play this. So now that gives me 2 red. And I'm just doing a normal play here. And then it goes to my opponent. The end of the turn, of course, the round, it goes up 1, so we're at 14. Yeah, and so he did a 1 drop. You can have the last player in charge of the clock. You can just, if everybody can reach the clock, you just have them do their own turn too. That's fine. So he's doing an upgrade. He's putting the blue-green out. He put a, looks like a white back. So now he has 2 greens and 2 blues is what he effectively has in play. Also raised the value of his points by 4, and the clock goes back 1 because he did an upgrade. So this game, this is the game level that a lot of people that play a lot of games really enjoy. It's fairly simple, but there's enough going on that it is really interesting, and you have some really fun strategies. And if your opponents don't know what's on the bottom face of the cards, because you can look anytime. I can go through, I can look at these and see what they are. My opponent can't look at mine. He can look at his own. So there's a lot of like secret card values, especially on those initial cards where you don't know what somebody has. So, and that's another thing at the beginning when you're doing your split. This is an interesting note. You might want to look at those cards before you do your split, because I just saw something that I wasn't aware of, and he didn't even look at the bottom face. And I got a nice, interesting card in here. Okay, so for my turn, I think I'm going to do... I'm going to go ahead and switch to get this gold out as my draw. So that's 1. And then for the play, and I want to remind you that you only draw from the discard spaces. I know a lot of people when they play this game, they're used to drawing from a deck. In this mode, in the first 3 modes of this game, in fact, you don't draw from, actually the first 2 modes, you don't draw from the deck itself. It just fills the spaces. So just keep that in mind. If somebody goes to draw from the deck, that's not permitted. It just fills. So it's like a reservoir, basically, but you can't draw directly from it. Okay, so I've got a gold here. I could switch something to put the gold out. I think what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and... let's see, what do I have here? I've got a lot of good stuff. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this, I'm going to do this green black and put this red back as my play. Okay, so this red went back here. Now I have two green, 2 black, and a white, and a gold. That puts the clock back 1. But at the end of the turn, it goes forward 1 for, or the end of the round, it goes forward 1 for the last player. Okay, he's doing his turn. He drew a green. There's a gray dropping. It's just a regular 0-point gray. He lets it fall. He's going to play an upgrade into the field. So he's playing a blue-white. He's putting a blue back. So now he's got 2 greens, 2 blues, 2 grays, and a gold. And he added 4 points. The clock also goes back 1 for that upgrade. All right. The thing about these upgrades is that you do have a limit of 7 cards in your stash. So if you go over that limit, and he's getting there, like if he goes over, he's going to have to discard from his stash at the end. And it's a hard limit. It's not like at the end of the round everybody discards. You discard immediately if you go over that 7 card limit. And it's not a big deal if you've got some cards that you're not concerned about anyway. You can overflow a little bit, but if you're playing like really judiciously, you'll want to watch for that. Okay, So my turn, and it'll be the end of the round. Let's see, how about I'll just draw, say, maybe this black gray one on the inside. It's blue on the outside just because it's a little more interesting than the 1-point cards out there. This white is going to drop. I get to look at it. So this here, if I do the twist here, my opponent doesn't know what I have, I can keep something from it. But I'm going to let that fall. And instead I'm going to play this gray, which I wanted to play anyway, but this is fun because now the gold's going to drop. And I can switch something for, so that white just dropped, so the clock goes up 1. This gold is going to drop, but I'm going to switch something. I'll just switch this 2-point back for it. And I'll keep that gold in here. So I have a nice tiebreaker if the game ties. I did a gray as my play, so I didn't pull the clock back at all. But it goes 1 for the end of my turn, into the round, and goes to the next player. So the most interesting, oh yeah, those 2 points, so that's good, he pointed that out, is 2 points for the 2 drop as well. So a lot was happening. So it's his turn. He's going to pull a black. That's good. He gets to look at the next one before he does anything else. This might make a difference. Nope, it's just a 1 drop, so that goes forward 1. Okay. He's going to do an upgrade, so he's putting a card back. There you go, it goes back 1. Okay. And he did the upgrade as his play, so he's got a lot of those out there. Alright, it's my turn. I feel like if I do this right, I can have a pretty good card advantage. So I may try to play to the end of the turn. If I can get this to go forward 3, which 2 for the drop. So obviously I'm going to draw this one and probably try to put it back for 2 points. So that'll bring the clock up 2 right there. So I'm looking at this here just to be, yeah, I'll just put it back. I'm not going to worry about blue. So there we go. So that's 2. It's up to 20. At the end of my turn, it will go to 1 more to 21. So no matter what I do, the game is going to end on my turn. So sometimes it doesn't end on the last player's turn. I'm going to switch for this gray to put this out. And there it is. And then switching the gold for the gray to put it out. I still have a gold in here. That might be useful because I think he might still beat me on the tie, but this made it a lot closer. Goes to 21. And you can see that the outcomes for this kind of, for the novice game, are a lot more interesting. I didn't do an upgrade, so I avoided that to avoid having the clock go back at all. Not give him another turn, hopefully. And now we're going to add up the points. So on straight value, he's got 3 4-point cards. So that's 12. 13, 14, 15 for the 3 points in gold. And 16, including the 2 gray. 2 gray is worth 1 point. So 16 points altogether. We'll look at the individual color values second. So first we're just adding up the basic value. Okay, so I've got 8 points for these 2 4-point cards. Another 6 points, so I'm up to 14. 15 points. So 15 to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 15 on my side, 16 on his side. Pretty close. That's interesting. I thought he was further ahead than me. So that's nice. So we're going to use this clock to look at the colors. I'm going to point to them as we go. So you can just use the pointer on it. I want to reveal the colors, so I'll just turn the pointer sideways as we go. So we're going to start with gold. And remember, you get 2 extra points for each color that you have the most of in this game, and obviously it gets a little interesting with the multicolors on some of these cards. Okay, so for gold, he's got 1, I have 2, so I get the most gold. So I'm up to 16 to his 15. White, he's got 2 white, I've got 1, so he's got the most white. So he's at 17 to my 15. Okay, and then we go to green. I've got 2 green. He also has 2 green, so nobody gets the most green. Then we go to gray. He's got the most gray, so he's up to 19 to my, was it 15? Yeah, 19 to 15. Okay, and then blue, he's got 2 blue, so he's at 21 to my 15. And then red, nobody had any red this time. And then black, I've got 2 black. He has no black, so I'm up to 17 to his 21. So he did win by the points, and a big part of that was he did these upgrades. These are very useful. So if you get a chance, that's kind of why I wanted to end the game quickly, because he was kind of pulling ahead on those. So the upgrades are critical. They are a big part of the game. You definitely, if you don't do them at all, you're going to lose, and you want to do at least some of them. So there's a great example of a novice game. Just play it back again if you need some pointers on how to upgrades work. That's the big extra rule for this set. Okay, so to put it away again, once again, we just collect all our cards into a stack here. And as in all the games, basically, we're going to do a stack shuffle. There was a whole lot of blues out here on the backs, but that's okay. We're just going to avoid matching colors. Lay them all down. And I'll do the same. So I'm just putting one at a time out here. If the colors match, I'll skip ahead. There was one. I'll just move ahead and come back to it. And then that's the game. So Novice, clearly it takes a little longer, but I think it's a lot more fun than the Initiate one, a lot more interesting. And if you like playing tabletop games, it's going to be more fun for you than if you rarely play tabletop games. So this is one where if you have a group of friends that on a fairly regular basis likes to play card games, board games, this is the one you want to play, especially if you don't have a lot of time for a game, but you want a game that's pretty interesting. I think this really hits all the notes for a good mid to low complexity kind of game. And very fast for what it is as well. All right, so once again, I'll finish by doing a drop shuffle. I'm just kind of angling these together. With practice, you get better at this. And it doesn't have to be, you definitely don't want to bend cards. If you're trying to preserve your cards in a game, you just drop them together. And we already did the stack shuffle, so this has a really nice built-in way to keep your cards in good shape and have lots of replayability. So there you go. That's Novice game. Please try it out and leave your comments for our playthrough and also your own experience with the game when you get your copy of Shards of Alchemy, and have fun with it.